Hey everyone, and welcome. So today, we're going to dive into a platform that's trying to solve a problem pretty much every school on the planet faces. How do you really know what your community is thinking? We're talking about Sadaschool, a tool that's all about giving students and parents a real voice to help build a better, more inclusive school. So let's kick things off with a big question it's trying to answer. Seriously, just think about that for a second. Beyond the official meetings and the once-a-year surveys, what are the honest-to-goodness thoughts floating around? The real concerns, the brilliant ideas. How does a school administration even begin to tap into that? That's the puzzle we're digging into today. And that question right there leads us straight to the heart of the matter, what we can call the school feedback problem. It's this communication gap that you'll find in almost any school, anywhere. And this gap, it's a huge deal. See, when school leaders are making big decisions about curriculum, about policies, about student life, but they don't have the full picture, well, they might completely miss the mark. It's not about having bad intentions, not at all. It's simply about making decisions with incomplete information. So, you gotta ask, right? Why does this gap even exist? Well, a lot of the time it comes down to how schools are trying to listen. Let's take a look at why the ways most schools do it now they often fall short. The old way, it tends to rely on these really informal anecdotal chats. A comment from one parent in the pickup line, something a teacher overhears in the hallway. The problem is that kind of feedback can be super biased and unreliable. But when you move to a more structured approach, you're flipping the script. You're aiming to get feedback that's actually representative and honest, which you can then turn into real, actionable insights. So you can basically boil down the old system's failures to three big things. First off, there are usually no organized channels. People just don't know where to go with their thoughts. Second, the feedback that does manage to trickle through is, like we said, often informal and based on one person's view. And third, all of this leaves schools without the hard, concrete data they need to make smart, effective changes. Okay, so you see the problem. This is exactly where a totally new approach isn't just nice to have, it's essential. To really bridge that gap, you need a new channel for communication, one designed from the ground up to fix these issues. And, you guessed it, that brings us right to Sadaschool. So what exactly is Sadaschool? Well, at its core, it's a super secure, totally anonymous platform designed to collect honest and constructive feedback. The whole goal is to move past just simple surveys and give schools clear, usable data that actually helps them make better decisions. And the whole thing really rests on this three-part promise. First, and this is the big one, anonymous and secure feedback. That's the bedrock, right? It's what makes people feel safe enough to be honest. Second, it gives schools a clear and actionable vision. So they're not just collecting data for the sake of it, they're getting a roadmap for improvement. And third, it has a multilingual interface, which means it's ready for diverse school communities anywhere on the globe. Okay, that all sounds great in theory, but how does it actually work? What are the nuts and bolts of the thing? Let's take a peek inside the platform and walk through the process step by step. It's actually pretty straightforward, broken down into 4 key steps. First up, an administrator gets in there and sets up the school's structure. The different grade levels, classes, subjects, the whole deal. Next, they distribute anonymous codes for a specific feedback campaign. These are one-time use tokens, which is super important for security. Then, the school launches its campaign with questionnaires they can tailor to exactly what they need to know. And finally, all that amazing feedback gets funneled into a dashboard where the analysis happens. And that last step, the analysis, that's where the magic really happens. This isn't just about collecting a bunch of comments. The platform's dashboard is like the central brain of the operation, turning hundreds of individual ratings and opinions into clear, understandable insights. The dashboard itself has some really cool features to make sense of everything. You've got your key performance indicators that give you a quick pulse check on how things are going. There are intuitive graphs to help you see trends over time. You've got these awesome word clouds that instantly show you the themes that keep popping up. And administrators can even pin crucial comments to make sure the most important feedback gets the attention it deserves. After all is said and done, it all boils down to this one single promise. This guarantee is everything. It's the foundation of trust that allows students and parents to feel safe enough to share what's really on their minds. Without that, this whole system of open and honest communication it couldn't work. And that leaves us with a really powerful question to think about. We often hear about how technology can be a distraction in schools. But what if the right kind of technology, when it's used thoughtfully, could actually do the opposite? What if it could help build a school that's more connected, more responsive, and
Yeah, more transparent. Just imagine what that future could look like.